someone who is challenging you towards what you want to do. And I think that's what you constantly came back for, and what I constantly kept giving. See, he came, well, you also came for food because I cooked.
Greetings, my good people. Welcome to Brothers Building Blocks Casual Conversations. My name is Joel Guzman, along with Sergio Adams. We're here accompanied with our brother Gerard Wyatt, and we're here to talk to you about brotherhood.
I'm not sure I really have a definition for it. I once believed that I did. I'm not sure that I do. I think I have what to me are practical applications that I share, really. A definition doesn't allow me to better understand. What allows me to understand what a brother is the acts of giving, or the acts of love, if you will. And when we met, you may remember, when you came in the office and you asked for help, all you got was help. I didn't consider you a brother then, because I didn't know you well enough to form that opinion or to form that understanding. You were just someone who was in need of assistance. But you rightfully said, over time, what was cultivated was a genuine desire to be present, for you, which wasn't easy, you know. I remember this guy walked up to me one day and said, "Hey, buddy, I love you." Oh man, I fall apart. Because I was like, "What do you mean you love me?" I was like, how do you know you love me? You don't even know me. He's like, "Yeah, I love you, bro." That's stupid thing that people say, you know. But I was inside, I was like, no one tells me they love me. So for me, it wasn't like the knowledge of what a brother is. It was just like the application of love, if you will. Mm-hmm. So when I was witnessing his application, I was just completely discomforted. So I challenged him like crazy. I was like, "Okay, what do you mean? Right. And how do you know this? And like, when does this happen? And do you love me sexually? Do you love me? Like, right. You need to tell me."
Because we were friends. Right? Well, we weren't even friends at the time. We were just coworkers and then roommates. So, and then my interpretation of love was very different then from what it is now.
Yeah. Well, what is interesting though, and it's something similar for you and I, it was a matter of or at least I took the opportunity to better comprehend what love is, and then able to apply it. And in the application, I developed a brotherhood.
Right.
In the application of what it is to be a friend, of support, a guide, sometimes a counselor, where you share ideas, you share challenges, and you have the support of your friend in troubleshooting. We cultivated a brotherhood. Mm-hmm. So the definition for me is not necessarily clean. What I do and can speak of really is the application of what it requires. And it's not a definition, it requires application of givings, application of your time, application of your soul, if you will, Yeah.
So yeah, I was just, you answered a few of my next question, which is, what are the requirements for brotherhood?
I don't know. What
did you No, but before you get to that, I just want to piggyback off of something that you said. And I just want to say that for me, I'm just going to use this one word, which is being constant in someone's life. And I would say that, and I had to learn that, and I learned that from you. And because I remember in past friendships, all we did was, party and hang out, and then I go home, and then you call and you talk nothing of interest or of importance that will further your existence here on this planet. But when I learned about true relationships or a brotherhood, I learned to be constant in someone's life. You want to find out how they're doing, and you're genuinely concerned about the person's well-being and day-to-day affairs, and how you can help and be of assistance to that person.
Well, there's a saying, right? You treat others the way you want to be treated. And so once you learn that you like that experience of being nurtured and taken care of. And by nurture, it's like you can continue to grow up, and you don't have to be a child. You can continue to be taken care of, even into adulthood, just by through the people who you've chosen to cultivate relationships with. And so, yeah, you hit that well.
The consistency is what is sometimes a bit challenging, to choose every day to carry somebody else in your soul or somebody else in your lived experience. That is like, instead of just thinking of yourself, what do I want, what do I need, where do I need to go? What does my friend want, what does my friend need, and where does my friend wants to go? And what have I done to assist my friend in achieving that? Or is my friend doing enough for himself or herself to get where they want to go, right? You may remember, there are a number of times in our experience where you would complain to me about the quality or the lack thereof of experience you were having at work. And one of the things I remember saying to him was, I think it's time for you to quit, go back to school, and change your industry that you're working in. Initially, he was, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested. I'm okay with what I have. But yet, he was not okay with what he had. Every day he complained like crazy. So the friendship that we were cultivating that transitioned into brotherhood was started in a place where, in a way, I was like your voice of reason. Like, hey, there's something different. There's an alternative. There's an alternative story. And for you, I think it was the realization that there's someone who is challenging you towards what you want to do. And I think that's what you constantly came back for, and what I constantly kept giving. See, he came, well, you also came for food because I cooked. But he came also for that conversation, where we talked a lot about who you want to be and where do you want to be that person.
Exactly. And one thing I would say about that also too, it's when you don't have the right people around you, so sometimes all someone needs is a push. And when you don't have the right people around you, then you end up being stagnated.
Well, yeah, that sounds like people who are having either their own interests or they're not fully invested in your interest, right? So if you say to someone, I want to go to school and I'll need to study, and so you get into school and you are studying, but then those people are saying, oh, you're studying too much. Let's go out and party. You need to relax. But no, the investment that I'm putting into myself is not immediate. It's for the future. And if you're not seeing that and you're not seeing my goals and objectives, then I have to reevaluate the relationship that you and I have. Are we brothers and sisters here? Because that relationship is something of value. The word has to have meaning and value to it. Otherwise, you're going to misuse it.
But I'm finding that there are some situations where your friend may say, let's go out and party. And it may be, in fact, that you need to go out and
true.
Get a break.
But it's context. Who's saying that?
Yes, but in the experience of your friend or brother realizing that you need a break from your routine so that you can reset, there's a difference with someone saying that versus someone saying every day or every weekend, let's go out and party, which may deviate from what you should be focusing on, right?
Correct.
Because as you know, brother, it's not easy to cultivate what we did.
No.
We've had wonderful experiences, and we also had some unpleasant ones along the way. So this is what, for me, I think this goes back to the question, what is brotherhood, the definition of brotherhood? This is what it looks like for me. So several years ago, Gerard called me after approximately 10 to 15 missed calls that he received from me. So he called me back, and I asked, first question, where are you? Oh, I'm not going to tell you, he says. I was like, why are you not going to tell me? Like, it's been all day, I haven't heard from you. I called you several times, you haven't answered. Oh, I'm frustrated, so I don't want to talk. I was like, okay, what are you frustrated about? Oh, I don't have to tell you, you're too nosy, he says. I'm like, okay, my good man, I'm only interested in what's going on in your life. So if you don't want to tell me, fine, but I'm still interested. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. I went gambling and I lost my rent money. And I was like, that's it. You don't want to tell me you're in gambling? Okay. Oh, because then he went off. You know, I was supposed to quit. This is such a bad habit, and yada yada yada. You keep going off. I said, my good man, it's really just that simple. Come on over. I'll give you the money. Go pay your rent, right? And in that simple experience, at least for me, it was the realization that my friend was allowing me to be a friend to him.
Yeah.
I remember this proverb: "A friend in need is a friend indeed." Like that is to say, at least for me, if you can humanize your experience and allow me to be present with you in your human experience, then it's easy for me to be there as a friend or as a human being along there with you. But when you create walls or barriers that prevents anyone else from entering, then no one else can share either the load with you, the burden with you, or present a solution for with you, you know? So in that experience, while he was ramping and raving about how discomforted he was with the experience or the choices that he made, what I wanted him to experience was that even though this might have started and presented itself this way, it can end differently. Like the day doesn't have to end with this experience being this way. You can still get your things taken care of.
And I must say this: it's not that him calling me over to give me the rent money is some sign of him enabling me in that kind of destructive behavior. But it was a sign for me to see that, okay, this is truly a brother.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to continue with this kind of behavior just because I know I have someone that I can turn to when I need the help, because it's my own decision making that caused me to be in that predicament in the first place. Right. But it was also a very eye-opening experience to see that someone could tell you, okay, I know what you did, but you don't have to be frustrated.
And you're also not being judged either.
Exactly.
And I think that that's
Exactly.
a huge part of it. You know what? It reminds me of, that story reminds me of when you first met me in college, and after we became friends, or rather we were cultivating a relationship, and you took me shopping for my birthday. You want to talk about that?
Well, suffice it to say, Homeboy was one of those whose
Hand-me-down central, man.
I wouldn't say that way.
Listen.
He was just wearing clothes that were perhaps a size and a half too large, right? So
Right.
part of
People
me
in
was,
good, like, out of good faith, they want, they gave me their clothes, they wanted whatever. But
so part of me was saying, well, if you want to be my friend and we're gonna walking around doing things together, I was like, dude, we gotta do something different over here. So I was like, we're gonna go shopping. And one of the things you said to me at the time was, so how are we gonna pay for this? I can't afford this. But what I did not say to him was, let's go shopping so that you can buy clothes. I said, let's go shopping so we can get you what you need.
and that we,
Right? And that we, for me, was implanting myself in his experience so that he can realize, at least in that very small introduction, it's not you. We're going to do this. What I didn't say equally was, I'm going to pay for it. Because for me, it wasn't necessary, but even though in some parts it is necessary, hence the question.
Right.
Like,
How are we going to pay for
because
this?
there's an anxiety now creeping up of, from my own cultural upbringing. It's if you want something, you have to go and get it, or you would ask your immediate family, and even then, you would know their experiences, right? Like if you have a single mother, you wouldn't want to ask them for a new wardrobe when you know they can't afford it. So
Right.
to have someone from the outside do that,
Yeah.
continue.
So we went shopping, and this was the best part for me. It was witnessing what the totality of the cost would be and how my body is going to look at it. So I wanted him to look and say, good grief, this is just too much money. You can't spend that money. I'm not going to accept that, right? So that I can swoop in and say, dude, but you said you want a friendship. Sometimes this is what the friendship looks like, right? Sometimes the friendship is that what you don't have, your friend supports or fills, and vice versa. It does not always be about money. Sometimes it's it's a variety of other item or action or what have you.
Or just always there for that person,
Right,
in
so-
every way.
Yeah, which sometimes is a bit scary.
So what was the cost And how did he react to it?
You took me to H&M.
No, I didn't take it to H&M. I took it to a number of stores, H&M being one of them. That was when H&M used to present
To be H&M.
fantastic, clothing. Now I think it's a little watered down. But we're not going to talk about that. It's not about H&M and clothing and shopping.
Right.
But nonetheless, it was and I'm not answering a question I know, which is what the final cost was. It's a few $1,000s, nothing major. But at the time, it was still in the early 2000s, thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And so,
because it wasn't just clothes as far as clothes goes, it's like pants and shirt, right? It was, well, now we need new jackets, and now we need new shoes, and now one thing led to
An entire wardrobe.
Right.
So to speak. Okay.
that is to say, that's where we started. It's like, okay, take everything out and throw it out, and we're going to start over. But in a similar context, I think it was at least that way for us in terms of cultivating friendships, or even to the extent where we are brothers now. When you cultivated one, and then you say, okay, well, fine, this is what we have achieved. Now let me see how many others I have that are like this, right? And in that space, you get the opportunity to say, well, crap, geez. What am I going to do with everyone else?
Right.
Because everyone else is not.
They're not doing that.
It's not in the same space of engagement. So I realized, at least for myself, when I came out of the military, and I'm back in the civilian world, and I'm in college, friendships I did not have. I have a lot of friendships when I was living in Guyana, but friendships I no longer have here because this is a new land, new experience, new people that I'm going to be engaging with. And so very quickly it occurred to me that I will now have to go and cultivate new friendships. And they may not look like those I've had of old. They may look differently because the people are of different ethnic groups here. It's not just one homogenous experience. There are different ethnic
upbringing.
groups. Yeah?
Right.
And so to humanize myself to strangers in this country, for me they are strangers, until we are now acquainted, right? Was a real difficult task because I didn't really want to be vulnerable to people. I did not want to extend myself, even though I was mildly interested in cultivating friendship. In the beginning, Joel used to accuse me of being robotic, unfeeling. Not that I was being robotic or unfeeling, it was just that I was also resisting the thing that I said I want to cultivate. Like, just let's be friends and hang out on the surface. But on the surface is where I don't exist. And I don't really want to be.
Not for very long.
Right?
Or so to speak, you had a guard up.
Oh, yes. But part of that guard was rooted in the lack of application or the lack of utility for the practice of love, One, I never used the word, and therefore hearing Joel using it towards me was really a bit challenging. Acting in love was easy. I'd rather do that rather than having to tell you, I love you, my good man. Oh, I love you, my good man. Oh, every day, I love you, my good man. Like, okay, that's too much of that, Men don't do that. Women do that. Not that it's a sexist thing, but it's those constructs of growing up into a culture where women are more emotional, men is not emotion. So to hear my buddy saying it, like, okay, fine. Do I have to say it back to you now that I understand the context that you are giving it to me? That, okay, it's pure.
Right.
So I have to say it back? He's like, no, if you want to. So I tried it one day. I said, tell me. It's like, love you, bro. Me. Okay. I love you. But even to say it felt like was like a hard, like I'm punching him down his throat.
Or what he was accusing you of being robotic.
Yeah. So it was not easy or effortless,
Right.
But over time, without him realizing, over time it became easy to use the word or use the language, use the vocabulary. What was easier, as I said, was just the engaging, the physical application of love rather than the words, the language.
What I want to know is, where did you develop these skills, or where did you draw from that you can implement what we see today or what we experience from you?
So I grew up as an only child. And I wished I had brothers and sisters that I can share the experience with. However, I think I was very perceptive of what I wanted to experience and was not experiencing. I wanted to experience love that seemed natural but was somewhat foreign. In my home, no one tells you I love you, no one hugs you and embraces you. Uh, so, what I was saying to myself, if this is the absence of it, I want to know what the presence of it looks like. So I began creating opportunities to experience it. So whenever I visit my friend's home, whenever I watch TV, if I read a book, I'm looking for what the application of love looks like. And when I learned it, I start teaching it to myself. So, for example, when I'm preparing meals at home, I would be ensuring that when I prepare it, when I serve it with a smile on my face. I serve it with enthusiasm, and I'll check in like, did you like it? Did it taste well? What didn't you like? So I have those follow-ups, right? And then I'll be attentive to what you say. And if you said, no, I didn't like it with too much salt, a little less salt, more sugar, then I'll add those and I'll come back. Hey, I did this again. Did you like it? Did you not like it? So I'm constantly attempting to improve upon my application to curtail one, to your satisfaction and also to mine, right? In the hopes that in this experience it will work. Simultaneously, it's the learning of communication or the art of communication, uh, applying my ear to the challenges a person is speaking of or the lived experience a person is having. And when I respond, I'll respond in a way that is constructive to what the person is saying. So I will let the person know that I am listening, I'm engaged, and I'm present, and I'm witnessing how they're going to use it, what that transformation is. So, for example, when I'm in conversation, this is earlier on as you asked the question, uh, I'll be the listener, and I will allow you to speak. And I will signpost everything that for me is of consideration. And when I speak now, I'll say, so you felt sad when he walked away. What did you want to do about that? So for me, giving you the attention or the opportunity to be hyper focused on your lived experience allowed me to better comprehend what it is to be present for someone, right? Rather than be present for myself. So when I'm listening for them rather than I'm listening for myself. So it's not about how I feel and what I'm thinking. Oh, I'm so bored. I stop speaking. It's you are concerned about the following and you wish you had an answer or solutions to the following. And then when I'm finished that, then I'll ask myself, do I have the solution? And if I do, hey, here you go, right? So I was practicing for the relationships I wanted to experience. So that when I get into the relationships, I will know what to do because I've been practicing over a period of time. I think similarly is like food, you know? I would want to say that in my friendships, there is one thing that I will do for my friend that is consistent. Like every time they come to my home, they must have something to eat or something to drink. So I will always ensure I have food in my house, or if I don't have food in my house when they come, I'm going to prepare a meal so we can have a meal, we can sit down and break bread, right? And so if I practice that art of one, preparing good meals, and two, breaking bread with my friends, it becomes an effortless act over time to engage and experience.
Not to be all churchy, but I know that you rely also on biblical principles. And I know there's one particular scripture that says that we should outdo each other with love.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the root of it all. Truly, it's and I'm not. I don't mean to speak for you, my good man, but your faith in God and Jesus Christ is something that is so strong that it's been able to transfer into other people, right? I think I'm speaking for myself, and Gerard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm speaking for you as well. And I think that is that's where you get your foundation from. And so that foundation allows you to operate properly and correctly, really, at all times, right? So, we spoke about love a little while ago, and I would say, I love you. I love you, bro. And I got that growing up, and living in Staten Island, and everything was bro. And everyone was your bro, and you loved everyone, right? But you didn't have an idea. The word became desensitized, or rather, we desensitized the word, and understanding its meaning truly from a biblical standpoint helped with the utilization of it, because it allowed you to categorize it properly and then use it properly. Not categorize it properly, but it allowed you to use it properly. And then when now you can say you love someone, you can truly mean that you love someone, right? And because you understand its context. I remember being one of my first long relationships from high school into college, and he asked me, he goes, do you love her? I was like, yeah, I love her. I love her so much. He goes, okay, how do you know you love her? And he went down this rabbit hole of questions that I couldn't answer. And I was like, damn. I thought I did because of the actions. And he said, some of your actions were out of love. So you were demonstrating love, but you weren't conscious of what it actually is. So that is another characteristic of brotherhood, right? I mean, we show love to everyone, right? Because that's just who we are. That's what we learn. That's what we're taught through what we read, through the scriptures. But the reciprocation, I think, is what helps develop a friendship and a brotherhood. And I think that's the difference. You said it yourself. You go and you always prepare dinner. No matter who comes to the home, you're always going to prepare dinner, or you're always going to lend yourself to be of service. But how do now those people who are receiving that love reciprocate? Do they reciprocate and then follow in the same pattern and do that same thing to you? Because I think that lends, that becomes a recipe for two people to grow, or more to grow together. What do you think?
If you are demonstrating love to folks outside of your peer group, outside of your brotherhood, then it's not necessary for them to receive and reciprocate, because this is something new, perhaps, for them. This is a new experience for them. And that love or brotherhood will take time to be cultivated. The love is immediate, but the brotherhood is eventual. Mm-hmm. If that is the point that you are making, the application of love for me is rooted in the Bible. That's where I learned what it is and what it is not. And so when I say it, I know what I'm encompassing. I know what I am attempting to convey. And then when I act on it, it's the application of what love is. So love is really the application of actions, the application of care, the application of understanding. Sufficient of the word is not enough. Just saying it is not enough. It's not enough just to say I love you.
Correct.
But then you don't see any application of that love. Therefore, you don't have to tell me you love me.
Mm-hmm. Just show it.
You can just demonstrate it. You certainly can show it, and I will know. I will feel it, right? I will experience it. Love is patient and kind. It does not insist on its own way, and it never ends. That last part is what really hooked me. It never ends. There are times when I've heard folks say, and myself at some points in when I was younger, I don't love him anymore. I don't love her anymore. I'm done. This is over. But according to the Bible, love never ends, right? The relationship can end. You and I may not have to see each other anymore, but the love in and of itself that I have cultivated with you does not end. We may have a problem that was unresolved, that has ruined, in some measure, the relationship that we have cultivated. But the love that we have cultivated doesn't end because you and I say so. apparently the love is not physical in that way, it's spiritual someplace else. That's why it does not end. And I think when we recognize that perhaps love doesn't exist in the physical where I can actually see it, um, but maybe exists in the soul where you feel it, right? Then we don't have control perhaps over the ending of it. We just have control over the application of it, right? So I can choose to be a friend by, talking to you, spending time with you, giving you support, giving you encouragement, engaging with you, receiving yours, and so forth. I can be in control of that, but I'm not in control of perhaps the ending of the thing. Like once you recognize it, you know what it is, and you start using it. That's it. It continues.
Right. Harkening back to something that you said, which was being an only child and not experiencing love in the home, you try to find a different way in which to, to actually experience love. And I myself, coming now in the different spectrum of yours, coming from a large family and have other siblings, still didn't experience the love that, you think you will experience because now that you come to America, you realize, okay, you were dysfunctional. You didn't know that you were dysfunctional there, but when you come here, you realize, okay, that you're a dysfunctional family. And so I will say that a brotherhood does not have to be one being born into a family. It's not through bloodline. It could be because now you chose the people that will be in your life having the same thought process, the same ideas, and the same goal as you. Because even hearkening back to the scriptures where when Jesus was told that, okay, your mother and your brothers are out there. And he said, who's my mother and my brothers? The people that do my will. Those are my mother and my brothers. So being born into a family makes you related, but that doesn't mean that you have, you've cultivated a brotherhood with the people that you're in this family with.
But you can.
But you can.
You can
right.
If the choice is made,
right.
if the ground is fallow for the cultivating of a relationship
right.
outside of just being brothers and sisters.
Right.
Right. The opportunity is there because you grew up knowing each other, you haven't shared experiences, and you draw from that to continue. Right. I think there's one thing I'd like to clarify, and that is when I grew up and I was wondering where the presence of love is, since I was not experiencing it, I am thoughtful that even though I was not experiencing love in a way that I can understand, a way in which I can recognize, it probably did exist, but it didn't look the way in which I was expecting it to look, or it didn't look the way in which I wanted it to look, or it didn't look like what I saw outside, right? So therefore, what is happening is not love. This has to be something else, right? Because people were there. I was not the only one in the house. People did do things. People did act. And those actions, I'm sure many of them, if not all of them, was rooted in some amount of love. So it's not for me to say it does not exist because I said so. I am not disqualifying or nullifying somebody else's lived experience. But what is unique, though, is the communication that helps the understanding of the application or what love is. You see, sometimes if a person is just doing a variety of things but never speaking to what is being done, then it's going to be difficult for you to comprehend their intentions, their actions, and what you are witnessing. And you will fathom or create another narrative that is not that person's narrative. And if you are attempting to learn or understand and the person is not engaging with you, then their acts of love can be misconstrued to be something else. And I find, at least for me, I experienced a lot of that, where there was no conversation, if you will. about what is being done and why it's being done, and so on and so forth. So what I'm experiencing is something that I don't like. It does not feel loving. It feels alien, very foreign.
What are some of the examples?
At the risk of being
Too deep?
no, not too deep. So Wendy, if you watch this, you'll know that I'm not speaking to you or about you, but I'm speaking generally to experiences that that occurs, and also referencing some experiences that I've had. So my mother would say to me, "What do you want to eat?" And I would say, "I want this particular meal." And sometimes I'm waiting for her to say no, right? You're not going to get that. You're going to get something else. But oftentimes she would say, "Sure, I'll make that for you." And I will have a wonderful emotion of, yes, I'm going to get this meal. I'm going to get what I want. And perhaps that simple interaction is the application and reciprocation or experience of love, right? But if that conversation does not really occur to help sometimes the person to understand what love is, then you will not know. I think it's a parent's responsibility to teach their children what love is, how to recognize it, and then how to use it, right? So that when they go outside, they know how to continue that. They know how to apply it, they know how to cultivate it, and then they know what to do with whomever. But if there is no education in the home about what love is, what it looks like, and what love is not, then you will never know, right? I remember in some experiences where I grew up, I would hear husbands and wives fighting, pots and pans being thrown about, weapon being...
It's a different kind of fighting in
right?
Guyana, man.
And so, is that love? Because they're married. They love each other. They have children. So, is that acts of love, or is that acts of violence? Is that like? But then, how do you really comprehend that? And no one is really speaking of it. I remember even in my own home, I'm witnessing examples like this, and I'm wondering, wait, so you love each other, or you don't love each other? Like, what's happening here? And then 2 days later, people are behaving as though nothing happened 2 days prior. It's like, wait, I just saw this.
Yeah.
You picked up somebody, heist them up, and threw them on the blasted ground. Blood is spilling. Things are happening. And then 2 days later, oh, you're hugging up and kissing up. Like, something is amiss here. I'm super confused. But as I say, if you explain to children what is happening, it'll be easier for them to recognize what is occurring, so they'll know how to do things for themselves differently, or how to experience love differently. So, in summary, as far as that clarification goes, what I learned as far as love is, I learned because I wanted to understand in many parts why I experienced love the way in which I did, and I never recognized it. Did I really recognize or experience love, or did I experience something completely different? So now that I know what love is, it's easier now for me to go back in my past and say, oh, so this was love, this was not. This looks like love, this was not. Okay, great. So all of this, you go away. So I'm only going to keep the things that were love, and I can speak of that joyfully. The others, I now know what that is, and that goes to the wayside, And this is what I can reference, and in some parts, it continues, and I cultivate new ones. So I have this as my baseline for how I engage.
So what you're saying is what you learned in your lived experiences growing up, what you didn't quite understand, what you learned is that what you didn't quite understand then, you were able to, through your lived experiences, formulate an understanding of what happened then, now.
Partly. I was able to better understand love by studying the Bible. And there's where I discovered what it is. And when I discovered it, I spent a lot of time testing it to know if it's real and what it actually looks like. Actually, I tested it on him, but he did not know this. I tested for approximately 1 year to learn if what the Bible says about love is actually real. And then if it is real, if it's actually true, now I'm going to go and test it and apply it to others before I actually go and evaluate my past. So the way in which I did it with him was that every day, without fail, I got up, I prepare him breakfast, I prepare him lunch, I prepare him dinner, I check in on him, because love says, outdo each other with showing honor. Owe no one anything but to love them. So if loving is about giving, it says best to give than to receive. So, okay, what am I giving? What do I have within my means that I can give? And whatever I give perhaps should be of need to his or of want to his. So then I need to learn about what it is he wants, what he needs, and then I'm going to attempt to give that. And I'm going to give it because we've already cultivated a relationship. So for me, all of it will come out of this space or of this capacity of our friendship, right? He's hungry. Okay, fine, I prepare a meal for you. Did you like it? And I always have a smile on my face, you know? Did you like it? You didn't like it? What would you like differently? And that was the positive approach I took towards applying love, not witnessing or seeking to witness the reciprocation of it. I just wanted to witness what it looks like when you apply it. Like, what is it doing for him, right? He got fat, you know, he passed it. And then he cuts me out. Oh, all you're doing is feed him and give me a big belly. He had the audacity.
So part of the complaining is now, or part of the love rather, is the complaints. It's
No,
like you get what you want, but you got too much.
No, well,
Everything in moderation.
partially. Well, the part of the eating was that he was just choosing not to exercise. But that became something else for me to give to him. Right?
That's the other part of being a friend and brother, is that you're going to want to tell that person things that they're not going to want to hear. It's going to be in opposition of what it is that they're doing, but it's for their best interest, right? You're going to, and food is an example. They don't want to eat this food, or they're not eating this food. I'll use myself as an example. My diet wasn't terrible, right? I mean, I had a Hispanic diet growing up, right? A lot of rice, beans, a lot of fried things, meats, and that was fine, but not all the time. My diet also consisted of a lot of processed foods like cereal and eating out. And so adding in more whole foods into the diet, actually, you know, that was a form of love as well, right? And so the person might not take it because they're not seeing the benefits of it at that time, but it's still the resilience to say, no, I know why I'm doing this, and I'm doing this for your benefit, even if you don't want to see it right now.
You know, I have spent a number of years in this earth thus far, and it's very entertaining to come to a place where I can say I have done a good job, you know, in cultivating the friendships or the brotherhoods that we have had. So I'm really grateful that the two of you have allowed me house room in your affairs and allow us to cultivate what is for us a unique and experienced brotherhood. Your time is valued, and I'm very much appreciative and thoughtful of it. So thank you for joining me today in this conversation about brotherhood, and thank you for using your experiences to elucidate the point. Cheers.
Cheers.
So happy to be here.
I must say it also, thank you for having me. I'm extremely proud, I must say, as an older brother to you guys, of the steps and bounds that you have made for yourself in creating a company. And I can see the future is extremely bright, and I'm beyond elated, I must say.
Cheers.
Well, I think
Cheers.
you're Brothers Building Blocks' biggest supporter thus far.
Yes.
So
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Brotherhood. If you like what you heard, or if you have stories of your own, feel free to like, comment, and share, and subscribe to the Brothers Building Blocks YouTube channel for more to come. Cheers. Joel Guzman and Sergio Adams. Why are you bobbing your head?
It's like I'm in agreement, you know? That is my name.
I look at you and I say your head going up and down. It was such a distraction.
All right, I'll stop moving stuff. But I feel weird just